Morning, everyone. It is good to see you and a joy and a blessing to be with you all on this beautiful Sunday morning. My name is Richard Mirage. I'm the lead minister here at Unity of Phoenix, and it is great to see you, and I just want to say welcome. Welcome, everyone.
And my name is Jimmy Scott. I'm the pastoral care minister here at Unity of Phoenix, and welcome on my behalf as well. You know, we are often asked, what is unity? And my short response to that is unity is positive, practical Christianity based on the teachings of Jesus Christ, but interpreted in a modern-day manner. Would you say that's sufficient?
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. That was so good. So good. So let's take our mission statement together. This is our community mission. It's a mission of our ministry. It's who we are and what we want to create. Together? Unity of Phoenix is a loving spiritual community that welcomes all people and honors all paths to God. We are dedicated to transforming lives by inspiring and awakening individuals to discover God's Spirit within. So everyone just take a deep breath. Let's open your heart to God. Open your heart to have an amazing and wonderful day. And let's all rise now as we make a joyful noise and sing, "Open the eyes of my heart." So everyone, just take a deep breath and just set aside everything I've just told you and we've all heard, just to clear our minds and open our hearts to have a time of prayer and meditation. So to prepare us for that sacred experience, let us now sing, "Surely the Presence."
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. So as we take a few moments now to just kind of allow ourselves to get mentally settled in, to release and let go of all the activities of the day. Just get comfortable in our seats. Take a deep, relaxing breath. Begin the process of actually slowing the mind down. And as the mind slows down, just continue to go ever more deeply inside yourself. And find that place of perfect quietness. That place where you can go and release your concerns, your cares, your worries, your fears, your hopes. Just release it all and open yourself up to a greater presence. The psalmist invited us to be still and to know. Which is an ancient way of inviting us to surrender. And in surrendering, know that there is a greater power within us that rises to the surface and enables us to gain greater wisdom and greater strength, greater guidance and greater direction. And a stronger will. A will that would help us overcome adversity. And the will that will enable us to be humble before that great spirit that we call God. So one more time, I invite you to take a deep, relaxing breath. And for the next few moments, just be still. In the quietness, we are reminded of the presence and power within us and all around us. And as we are mindful of that presence and power, we open ourselves up to an even greater and deeper experience of it. So as we bring this time of contemplation and meditation to a close, I invite you to remember all the people who have called or written this ministry in a request for prayer. And I invite you to hold them in your great heart of love, and knowing that as we all combined our hearts and our minds and spirits together, that we create a deeper experience of love in the world and in our lives and in the lives of all people everywhere. We claim that to be the truth in the name and through the nature of the living Spirit of the Christ. We release it and let it go, believing that it is done. And so it is. Amen.
Whew. Morning again, everyone. And special shout out to everybody who watches us online. So how many people here have ever been so worried about something you couldn't get it out of your head, you couldn't stop thinking about it? Anybody? Or how many had your head so filled with so much stuff you couldn't concentrate and stay focused on what you're actually doing? Anybody? Anybody ever been so bothered with something, so bothered and so disturbed about something you couldn't sleep all night? Anybody? You know, sometimes it's hard to quiet your mind. Sometimes it's hard to find peace of mind and serenity. You know, when things aren't going well, it's hard to stay calm and centered. And again, especially when things aren't going well. You know, so it reminds me of the story of this new business that was happening, and a friend of the owner wanted to congratulate them on this great occasion, so sent some flowers. And so some flowers arrived at the new business site, and beautiful flowers, and they had a huge sign on it that said, "Rest in peace." And so, you know, the guy was just embarrassed and upset. Everybody's seeing all this rest in peace for a new business. And so he calls the florist. He says, "This is outrageous. This is ridiculous. You've made such a horrible mistake, caused me so much embarrassment." And the florist says, "I'm so sorry, sir. It was an accident. It was a mistake. We'll make it up to you." But instead of being angry, maybe you could just imagine this. That somewhere there is a funeral going on today. And they have received a delivery of flowers that say, "Congratulations on your new location." So, peace of mind. How do you find inner peace? How do you find it? You know, one thing I have to say, without a doubt, while we all struggle for inner peace, I will tell you that nothing in our life is more important. Nothing is a greater blessing, and nothing is more valuable than discovering and experiencing peace and serenity. I will tell you, no matter how much money, no matter how much success, no matter how big the house, no matter how much possessions we have, when we do not have inner peace, we cannot truly enjoy our lives. See, when there's a lack of peace, when there's a lack of inner calm and serenity, the mind is always restless. It's distracted and agitated. When there's no inner peace, it's hard for us to think and make clear decisions. And when there's a lack of inner peace, it's hard to be really present and available to others, to be present to the moment. It's hard for us to appreciate God. It's hard for us to be aware of how incredibly blessed we are. You know, lack of inner peace, when there's inner conflict, it's actually bad for our health. Sometimes, not only do we not sleep well because of this lack of inner peace, sometimes, we don't eat at all, or sometimes we eat too much. You know, a lack of peace affects us in so many ways, levels of enjoyment, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually of our lives. You know, in Psalm 14, verse 30, it says this: "A heart at peace gives life to the body." A heart at peace gives life to the body. That when there's peace, it gives us greater life. And think of the opposite. When there's a lack of peace, it takes away life from the body. It takes away enjoyment from life. You know, Jesus said he came that his joy may be in us and that our joy may be complete. Well, I'll tell you can't have complete joy unless it includes inner peace. He said he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. But you can't have an abundant life unless there is inner peace. You know, today we are in the fourth and final week of our series on the Beatitudes. And the Beatitudes are the 8 opening statements of Jesus' famous Sermon on the Mount. And when you think about it, the Beatitudes are really a set of spiritual rules, a set of spiritual principles, just like the 10 Commandments. They were a set of spiritual laws. But the tone and the difference between the 10 Commandments and the Beatitudes is huge. The 10 Commandments were commandments. They were commanding. Thou shalt not. They were very authoritative. Don't do this. And also, they were based on behaviors. Don't act this way. Don't do this. Don't do that. They were commanding, and they were about behaviors. Well, the Beatitudes are more inviting rather than commanding. Instead of thou shalt not, it's blessed are you if you attain this mindset, for you will attract even greater things. It is a very inviting and centered thing, and it's really based on the attitude and the mindset. You know, Jesus wasn't trying to get people to tell him what to do. He was trying to support them in how to be. He wasn't trying to teach about the actions. He was trying to have people think about the intention. He wasn't trying to get people to focus on the letter of the law, but really the spirit of the law. And the Beatitudes are really principles of being that help us truly go deeper into the spirit of the law, the spirit of the truth that sets us free. You know, many of us in our lives are really taught the more aggressive ways. Be tough, be a fighter, keep pushing, be aggressive, be determined. And those things can get us levels of success, but it only keeps us at a surface level. At some point in our lives, if we just use those strategies, we'll think, something feels like it's missing. There's got to be more. And the Beatitudes is inviting us to more. But that more requires that we allow ourselves to be more humble, more vulnerable, and more open. To allow ourselves to go deeper into God, deeper into these spiritual principles and truths. And so the question is, how much deeper are you willing to go into God? And are you looking for something that feels that that there's more? And if there is, it's available, but you've got to be willing to be more vulnerable and go more deeply into yourself, deeply into spirit, and deeply into God. So today we're going to finish up with the final two Beatitudes. And the first one is, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be children of God. Blessed are the peacemakers. If you're a Monty Python fan, blessed are the cheesemakers. When I think of this, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be children of God. To me, it really brings up, what encapsulates this, to me, is the prayer of St. Francis. Everybody remember that? Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, that where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. The whole idea of being a peacemaker is about reaching out and having people reconcile and connect, bringing peace and ease to individuals and communities. I want you to think about this. What is the mindset or the consciousness of a peacemaker? A peacemaker is someone who has a desire for the well-being and the peace of all people, has a willingness to be an instrument and support that peace in taking place and being experienced of everyone. An awareness that we are all children of God and we all deserve a life of peace and joy. And also an acceptance of the responsibility that we are here to bring more peace on earth and goodwill to all people. It says in the book of Romans, chapter 14, verse 19, it says, so then let us all pursue the things that make for peace and for the building up of one another. That every one of us is here to pursue the things that make for peace and things that will build up one another. Really, I want you to think of a situation in your life where there's a bit of conflict, a situation where you might have some personal tension, some turmoil between you and another. And I ask you the question, in that situation, how much of a peacemaker are you being? How much of an instrument of God's peace are you willing to be? And are you holding, a desire for the well-being of them and for everyone involved in this, knowing that you all deserve peace? How many people, based on thinking what's going on in that area of your life, know there's some room for you to improve in being a better peacemaker or an instrument of peace? Anybody? Okay, about 5 or 6 of us. That's okay. That's okay. And so how do we begin to develop a consciousness of a peacemaker? Well, I think every Sunday we sing a song that kind of reminds us. I'll start it, and you just finish the last 2 words for me. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. With me. But for us to truly be a peacemaker, the Beatitude would probably read more like this. Blessed are those who make peace within themselves, for they shall be sons of God, and they will be peacemakers. That if we aren't starting with peace within ourselves, then we really can't be instruments of peace. We can't feel that sense of serenity we're all looking for. And so my question is, where does a lack of peace come from? Why is it that we lack peace? What is going on that we don't feel a sense of peace of mind, that we can't quiet our mind, that we're losing our sleep, that we can't concentrate? What's going on that creates a lack of peace? Anybody want to guess? Thanks for helping me out. Okay. I'll tell you in one word. Do you know what causes a lack of peace? Our thoughts. Our thoughts. Our thoughts and our mind, that's exactly where a lack of peace is created. They say sometimes a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Yeah, but you know what? I think a mind can be a scary and dangerous place too. I'll tell you, sometimes my mind is like a bad neighborhood. You don't want to go there alone at night. You just don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. Anybody ever find yourself making up freaky, crazy things and driving yourself nuts? I mean, seriously, we do these kind of things. I remember one of the first times I started speaking, somebody got up and walked out during my talk, and I thought, what? Did I say something that offended them? I mean, I'm still doing my talk, and in my head, I'm going crazy. Anybody ever have your boss or your partner say something like, we need to talk? And I'm like, oh my God, we need to talk? What did I do wrong this time? Am I in trouble? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to lose my job? Are we going to break up? I mean, we hear one thing, and the mind just starts flipping out. I saw this commercial once. It was this beer commercial, and they've got this beautiful woman at a bar, and across sitting from her is this handsome guy. And so those little thought bubbles? They pop up, and she sees him coming over and getting a drink, and they get to know each other and develop a relationship, and sees them traveling and taking trips and having such a great time, all this in the bubble, and she's happy as ever been. And then she catches him cheating on her, and she flips out, and they break up. So she gets up, walks, this isn't real now, walks over to him, slaps him in the face, and walks away. This sounds silly, but we make up stories. We drive ourselves nuts. We tell ourselves that people are against us. They're all talking about us. They don't like us. I'll probably get hurt, or things will go wrong. And we can drive ourselves crazy and create inner turmoil and conflict because we create all kinds of crazy thoughts in our heads. So the question is, how do we find peace? How do we quiet the mind? How do we open ourselves to find peace in ourselves so we can be greater instruments of peace and spread this peace, throughout the world, which is a part of our spiritual work? The book of Isaiah, chapter 26, verse 3 says this: I will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed upon thee. I think it says actually, he will keep you in perfect peace whose mind is stayed upon thee. And so the key to peace is to keep your mind on God, to keep your mind focused on Spirit, to keep your mind focused on that all-providing, all-loving Spirit that is the creator of all good things. And that sounds easy. The way to peace is to put your mind on God. Blaise Pascal, over 300 years ago, said that the greatest problem that the human family faces is it comes from its inner inability to be still. What I find amazing about that was 300 years ago. They weren't cars or planes or trains or, personal devices and all this kind of stuff that distract us. Back then, he said, the greatest problem we all have is learning to be still, quieting the mind, finding inner peace, and getting to a place of serenity. And so the greatest way to do that is actually to think about God, to keep your mind stayed on God. The Apostle Paul said, do not be anxious about anything. Jesus said, don't let your heart be troubled. And in every case, they said, think about God. And the peace of God will surpass all human understanding. You will discover a peace that is beyond your imagination. Regardless of what's going on, you will feel that sense of peace. So yesterday I'm meditating, and think about this. When you hear that the greatest thing you could do for peace of mind is just think about God. How do you think about God? Do you ever wonder that? What do you think? And so yesterday I'm meditating outside, and I love meditating outside. I see the warmth of the sun on my face, and I'm feeling the warmth, and I'm thinking the sun is so awesome. It gives so much light and so warmth. It's so bright you can't even look at it. That's how powerful the sun is. And then it occurs to me, but what's more awesome is the power that made the sun. Think about the Grand Canyon, how great it is. But what's even greater is the consciousness out of which the Grand Canyon was created. The same power and energy that created the sun and the moon and the stars and the earth and the sky and the mountains and the birds and the trees and all this beauty we see is the very same power that created us. That we live and move and have our very being in that spirit and power and energy of God. That all providing spirit and energy is in us. That we are a part of it. That we live and move and have our being in this. And the question is, how much do we breathe it in and take that in a greater awareness? Because the truth is, the more we fill ourselves with the thoughts of God, the more we fill ourselves with peace. Because everything that God is, we are. That God is peace and I am peace. God is love and I am love. So I don't know what way will work for you, whether you just meditate on God is love or God is peace. But the more you think of God, and however you think of God is the greatest thing you could do to bring more peace into your life, to bring more abundance and more success. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who find peace in themselves by thinking of God, for they will spread and bring more peace into the earth and into life. For they will be called children of God. You know, I mean, to be a child of God means you have a birthright to this peace, to this love, and to this great life. But the question is, are you willing to fill your heart and your mind with more peace? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. And so let's go to the last beatitude. And I just want to read this for you because it's a little bit on the long side. But it says, blessed are they who are persecuted for righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like no fun at all. You know, I'm like, hey, Jesus, I was coming along for the first 7, but you really lost me on this one. Because doesn't it sound like blessed are the doormats? You know, blessed are the martyrs. Blessed are, the worse you get treated, the more blessed you are. Well, I don't want any of this. But that isn't what Jesus is saying here. He's actually talking about a very powerful principle of spiritual and life transformation and change. That in life, that when you are changing for something for the better, or you are acting in a higher way, sometimes there's resistance. Sometimes there is discomfort by the people around us when we're living in a higher way. Let me give you some simple examples. When I was a kid in school, there were some kids who like always did their homework, were on time. In fact, they not only did all their homework, were on time and polite, then they would do extra homework and we were like, oh, you little brown noser, your teacher's pet, your little Miss Goody too, she was goody for you. And they're getting A's and we're not, and we're making fun of them. Or you remember I was hanging out with some guys, they said, come on, let's take some rocks and go throw them and break those windows and run away real quick. And I said, I don't want to do that. You chicken, you loser. I mean, sometimes when some people are acting in higher ways or ways we know that are better, there's a lower part of us that kind of resists and want to make fun of them. This is making sense, everybody. And so that there is a principle here that all change and evolution has to break through a certain inertia and resistance and pushback, and you got to hang tough during those times. That's what this is talking about. Emmett Fox says this. He said, we have to understand that the source of all persecution is none other than our own selves. That no outside persecutor exists, but only our conflict with our lower selves. So when we decide to live in a right way, in a more spiritually centered way, that resistance always comes. Resistance always comes, and we have to fight over it. Let me give you an example. Anybody ever set a goal like, I'm going to set a goal, I'm going to meditate every day. Or I'm going to set a goal that, I'm going to set a budget for myself and start saving more money. Or I'm going to set a goal that I'm going to lose weight, or I'm going to exercise, spend more time with the family. We've all had those. And then you start doing it, and then, you find out it's actually harder than you think. You got a diet, and then somebody, like Jimmy, brings in some Krispy Kreme donuts last week. He was persecuting me. That's what he was doing. And so, but the truth is, and then you just tell yourself, okay, I'm on a diet. Okay, but just one. I've been wanting to go to the gym, and it's like, I tell myself the night before, I'm going to go in the morning. First thing in the morning, get it over with. Morning comes, I think maybe I'll go in the afternoon. Afternoon comes, maybe the evening, and then I think, maybe I'll go tomorrow. Anybody ever do stuff like that? We start out so wild and crazy about these things, and then we end up going back to the old behaviors. We put on the weight. We go back to not being in shape. Our bank account, our savings, our budget didn't help at all. And those are the things that persecute us. We persecute ourselves more than anybody else by the limiting thinking of saying, no, you can't do it. It isn't going to work out. We're tempted to give up. That's the persecution for righteousness' sake. You know, we are trying to call forth a higher and better way, and some of our human selves pulls it back to the old pattern. And what this is saying is, blessed are you when you are persistent and you hang in there. That even with your own resistance or the resistance of people, that you stand firm and say, I'm going to live this truth. I'm going to break through this inertia. I'm going to break through my old patterns and call myself to a higher level and a greater way of living. And the fact is, everyone, and that's one of my favorite scenes is, remember the children of Israel at the Red Sea? You know, they're all whining and because they can't get by the Red Sea and the Pharaoh's people are coming to get them. And my favorite line, Moses says to them, he says, stand firm and see the deliverance that God will give you today. For the Egyptians you see today, you will not see tomorrow. And what he's saying is, whatever's going on in your life where you're getting resistance or even you're telling yourself you can't do it, stand firm. Stand firm in your truth. Stand firm in your dreams. Stand firm in who you want to be. Stand firm in calling yourself higher, and you will see the deliverance. You will see the deliverance God will give you, and a path will open for you. It'll lift you to a higher place. And he said that the prophets before have all gone through this. But you look, Jesus wanted to change things, and guess what? Resistance. Resistance in every place. You know, Jackie Robinson, first a black player to play in Major League Baseball. They would spit on him, called him all kinds of names. He couldn't stay with the team. All kinds of resistance and persecution. But Branch Rickey told him, he said, you can't complain. You can't fight back. You just focus on being the best you can be. And sometimes we put a lot of our time in what people are thinking about us, and we need to just stay centered and be the best and express the truth of who we are. Anybody ever seen Randy Pausch's lecture, the last lecture? Anybody ever saw? Randy Pausch was a computer science professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and he had pancreatic cancer. He was given 3 months to live. As a professor, they have a tradition called last lecture, and the idea is that if you had to give your last lecture, what would you talk about? He gave this last lecture. It was an hour long about how to live, how he learned about his dreams, how to discover. And he really did it for his 3 young boys because he ended up dying at 47. He got it at 46. He died at 47. He wanted to leave his boys a legacy about life. He said many things, but these 3 things that stuck out that I really liked. He said, number 1, in life, they're going to be brick walls. And the brick walls that you run against in life are not to keep you out of your dreams, but it's to test you to see how much you really want it, how much you desire it, how much you are really driven. Number 2, he said, don't bail, don't quit. He said, there's gold, but sometimes you got to keep digging. He said some of the best golds are buried in barrels full of manure. He didn't use manure, but I did. And so, and then the third one, he said, don't complain. When people say no, when there's resistance, don't complain. Just focus on being your best. And again, Jackie Robinson had it in his contract that he wasn't to complain. He was just to focus on being his best. Let me leave you with a poem that I think summarizes this last beatitude of blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you are kind, people may accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Be kind anyway. If you are successful, you will win some false friends and some true enemies. Succeed anyway. If you are honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. When you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, other people may be jealous. Be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will forget tomorrow. Do good anyway. Give the world the best you have, and it may never be enough. Give the world your best anyway. You see, in the final analysis, it is between you and your God, and it was never between you and anyone else anyway. This beatitude is saying, are you up for it? If you want a better life, are you up for it? Are you willing to be persistent? Are you willing to persevere? Are you willing to give into all and find that resistance and break through to something even greater and better? Every one of us practices our spiritual principles, but this beatitude is saying, do you want a little bit more? And if you do, it's available, but you got to go deeper. You got to be willing to be vulnerable. You got to open yourself more to God. When I was studying this, I realized that the beatitudes going deeper is about one thing. One thing. Every single one of them is about one thing, and that is, do you trust God is there for you? Do you trust God enough to let go of control, to let go of the need to be right, to let go of your will, and to surrender your life to God? To open your heart to mourn, to know and trust that God will comfort you, to trust that God will be there for you, to think only thoughts of God, knowing that God will bring more peace and love into your life. Are you willing to face the persecution and the resistance? Do you trust that if you hang in there, that God will be there and lift you up and make your life even better? It's all available for us. The Beatitudes is telling us that. The question is, are you willing to let go? Are you willing to go deeper? And are you willing to trust God, to open yourself to God in a way you never have before? It's right there for us. The question is, are you ready to go deeper? God bless you all.
Let's rise and sing our closing song together. And our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And all is well. Amen.